get started. Lighter crowd today, but I don't know if that's Thanksgiving or the topic or a little of both. So yeah, people are still shopping maybe for food and stuff. So today's topic is stuff my grandkids say. This was an interesting one to put together. There will be a small quiz at the end, so you need to pay attention. Okay? So this was also made with ChatGPT, which is really easy to create images like that, which is nice. So we'll start with an example, okay? So this is if you were to ask your kid or your grandkid, how was school today? This is something that they could say in response. And all of the colored words are going to be our words for today, okay? Grandma, it was straight Ohio, like level 10 skibbity riz failure all day. First period, the sub had zero aura, just yapping about fractions. Then at lunch, Jamal tried to hit me with the phantom tax on my Takis. Bro, I went full Sigma and guarded them with my life. Some kid in the hallway saw my new shoes and yelled, "Yacht," so loud that the principal heard. By fifth period, I had complete brain rot. Everything was mid, and I was cooked. And when the bell rang, I just screamed 6, 7, and ran for the bus. Honestly, I need to touch grass for like a week. So, there's probably a lot of stuff in there that does not make sense at all. So, hopefully after today, you will know what some of this stuff is and maybe remember it in the future. So, how I tried to break it down was into things we understand. So, we are familiar with what nouns are, with what adjectives are, with what verbs are. Okay, so these are all color coded based on that. Okay, so we'll start with Gen Alpha nouns. Okay, so the current generation, I'm a millennial, and then there's Gen Z. Currently, Gen Alpha is 2013 to 2025, and I think Gen Beta is right after that. So maybe starting in 2026 is Gen Beta. So these are things probably Gen Z or Gen Alpha would say. Okay, so the first word that was up there, and again these are nouns, is riz. Okay, so riz is basically just short for charisma. So when you hear charisma, riz, those go hand in hand, okay? And Kai Cenat, have any of us heard of Kai Cenat? He's actually just 2 months ago, he set the record for most Twitch subscribers. He got 1.3 million subscribers on Twitch, and he basically streamed for a whole month. To start the school year, he did like a stream all of September. So he even streamed himself sleeping at night. That's how long it went on. Anyways, so in 2021, he did Riz tutorials, which is basically spitting game at girls. So that's how Riz became popular. Okay. Aura is another one a little bit more recently that's become more popular, and that's a person's invisible vibe and just how they carry themselves. So this TikTok over the summer was very popular because this kid has aura, right? So they say that he's aura farming. This is an Indonesian boat race, and they've been doing this for I don't know how long. But that is a kid that has an invisible aura, basically, right? So person's invisible vibe, okay? So that's another noun. The phantom tax is stealing a bite or a sip. So say you're at the lunch table and somebody has, I don't know, Takis like we heard in the example, and you want to grab a bite. That's called a phantom tax, and that's popularized by another streamer, Phantom, Roberto Asano. I'm not familiar with who that is. You'll notice a trend so far that all these are basically internet generated, or origins come from things on social media, right? And that'll continue to hold true. The last one that we'll mention here is brain rot, right? That one's become pretty popular. And that's really just a mental fog. So lots of Gen Z and Gen Alpha kids talk about after you're doom scrolling, which is just going through social media, TikTok, and swiping up for hours and hours, that they have a mental fog. It's hard for them to concentrate. So that's what they attribute brain rot to, just kind of consuming meaningless content. Now the origin here, he didn't say this specifically, Thoreau in 1854, he didn't call it brain rot, but he considered kind of the idea the same thing. So that's really where it stems from. So I got this from Wikipedia. Thoreau reflected on materialism and argued that a tendency to prefer trivial ideas could weaken the mind. Now in 1854, that wasn't TikTok and social media and things like that. That was reading too much of the newspaper or participating too much in gossip. But basically things that aren't too deep, I guess, pretty surface level stuff. If you participate too much, he argued that could, again, weaken your mind. So, yeah, it kind of holds true, interestingly enough, today. Okay. Have we heard of some of these or none of these?
I've never heard of battle tax.
Yeah, that was new to me too, actually. I never heard of that one. But Riz is probably the most popular word that you hear the most or have heard the most. Aura's becoming more popular, and brain rot a little bit more popular too. But if you're at Thanksgiving this Thursday or this weekend at all, Riz is probably the word that you're most likely to hear. Okay? So going forward, these are adjectives. So again, these are all pulled from the first quotation that we looked at, right? So Ohio is weird, cursed, chaotic, or cringy. So Ohio has in the internet realm, lots of people think of Ohio as the Florida of the Midwest, basically. So people that are from Ohio are just kind of trashy. So anything that's kind of cringy like that, you call it Ohio, right? That's an adjective for it. So for example, this is something that could be considered only in Ohio. Is just a ridiculous roller coaster ride like this, right? That's the only place that you would see something like this. Okay. So that one's used maybe not as much. I hear it more in internet slang than I do on like a day-to-day basis. But that one's popular. Level 10 is probably more self-explanatory. That just means extreme or maxed out. Like in video games, if you get to level 10, that's lots of times the max level. So that's where the origin comes from for that. Skibbity or skibidi, I can't remember how to pronounce it. Absurd, bad, or unhinged. There's a viral YouTube video that has hundreds of millions of views. I was going to show it to you, but honestly, I was even confused looking at it. Lots of this stuff, you don't really understand why it becomes viral, and then all of a sudden it kind of creates a whole, because it's so dumb, it creates its own, I don't know what the word is for it, ecosystem of memes, basically, that kind of develop around it. So Skibbity is one of those. Full Sigma, or a person that's a Sigma, that guys lots of times refer to themselves or other people as Sigma, would be independent, calm, or self-reliant. That kind of gained popularity in 2020, 2021. Mid, that one's probably more self-explanatory, right? Average, boring, or mediocre. There was a rapper in 2019 who kind of coined this phrase, calling some other rappers' music mid, and he called his music more goated or better. So that's where kind of the origins of that came from. And while we're talking about goated, LL Cool J had an album and a single on the album called G.O.A.T, which is the acronym for GOAT. So that's kind of where that all came from. Lots of times in sports context, you hear like, is LeBron James the GOAT or is Michael Jordan the GOAT, right? So to be goated is to be something is really good, basically. And then finally, cooked, this one right above it, would be doomed, embarrassed, or destroyed, and that kind of had origins in gaming contexts. Okay? So again, a lot of the stuff that you see is kind of internet culture, basically, and it's stemming from internet stuff, a little bit from music, but more so TikTok, YouTube, and that kind of stuff. Okay? Moving forward, so those are the adjectives. Only a couple of verbs that were on that first one. Yapping would just be rambling or talking too much, right? And that took place or started on Twitter in 2019. And then touch grass actually was in the forums of World of Warcraft. Have we heard of World of Warcraft at all? Or do we recognize this clip? None of us are South Park fans at all. So South Park famously had a scene or an episode. It was called "Make Love, Not Warcraft," I think was the name of it. But it highlights a guy that sits in his mom's basement and basically plays World of Warcraft all day, every day. And then online, people would talk about World of Warcraft players in 2010 and say, hey, you need to go outside and touch grass, right? You can't just stare at your screens all day. That's kind of taken off. It's not only video games that we apply the touch grass to, but also just being on social media in general, right? And then the last one that, last one that I'll talk about. Okay, Gen Alpha exclamations. So you can't really fit these things, GYAT and 6-7, into a category of maybe English words. They're just things that kids say to exclaim things, right? So GYAT is short for basically goddamn in American. AVE stands for African American Vernacular English, right? So GYAT sounds kind of like goddamn. That's where that comes from. It can mean something that's big. Generally, where it comes from is girls that have big butts. Kids will say GYAT to it, but they'll also apply it. They'll also apply it to other things that are like kind of take them by surprise or something that's impressive. And then 6-7. There was a song by Skrilla called Doot Doot that uses the words 6-7 in it. And then this meme, or this short video from this kid going 6-7 basically made it go off viral. Now, is there anything special about that video? Not really at all. But again, it's an example of brain rot internet culture that really, for no reason is it that impressive, but it just kind of catches fire, and then everybody starts to say it. So the start of 6-7 was a song, this kid going like this, saying 6-7, and now it's everywhere, basically. So is it logical? No, but that's just what it is. So yeah, those are the Gen Alpha exclamations, okay? So, on to our quiz portion. Do we have any questions before we go forward? I know a lot of this is like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. But we were all kids once too, and we did stupid stuff as well. So I want to just go through this first, or this quote from the beginning, and let's just, by raise of hand, does anyone want to take a stab at one of those words and what the description is?
Ohio would be like, cringy, so not a good day.
Cringy, yes. The Florida of the Midwest. Yeah, so something is Ohio. Good.
Level 10 is the best, like
Level
the
10
video
is,
games.
yep. Leveling up, good. And you don't have to go in order, you can pop around if you want to.
Well, Riz is charisma.
Riz is charisma. Yeah, and I actually didn't know that's kind of what it was short for, so that's an easier way to remember it.
Yapping is going on and on and on.
Yapping, just keep running your mouth.
That's kind of
Kind of
makes
makes
sense.
sense.
Yeah, yapping is one up there, one from up there that you probably could have figured out on your
One
own.
aura is just like you have like a good aura around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good vibe. Vibe is probably another word for aura.
Headaches too.
So good vibes or bad vibes could go either way.
All right, touch grass is get your face out of the screen.
Yep, good. Touch grass.
It is just kind of
Average.
mediocre.
Yeah, average, mediocre. That's another one that you could probably figure out on your own, right?
Phantom tax was stealing something,
Yep.
but I don't understand that in that context. He tried to hit me with,
Yeah, he tried to hit me. Shouldn't be taken literally. It should just be like he tried to grab at my food basically.
What are Takis like that?
Takis are kind of like a spicy Cheeto. So those, it's an actual snack. Yeah, it's a chip. Those became popular maybe like 10, 12 years ago. And yeah, they're more popular than Cheetos, but they're similar to Cheetos. They're like spicy Cheetos basically. But yeah, so the phantom tax is to steal somebody's food or drink and grab grab a Cheeto or a Taki, right?
Giat is, God.
Goddamn.
Yeah, goddamn. It's kind of an exclamation. It doesn't always really make sense when kids say it. They just say it to say it, right?
Yeah, and 6-7 is just like whatever.
Nothing.
Like if you watch basketball games, if it's, they have
Yes.
65 and they get 2 points and they're now all of a
Yes.
sudden they get 67 and the whole place like
Right.
explodes.
And I never understood why are they doing that?
Mhm.
Now I'll get
And
it.
the mayor of New York, he's the new mayor, he's got 6 letters in his first name and 7 in his last name.
Oh my
So
gosh.
people are like, wow, you know, it's like, okay,
Oh.
whatever.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, they'll find any way that they can use that phrase. Few more left.
Brain rot is just, you know, it's like
Can't do it
fog,
anymore.
you can't do it. It's
Mental
just never
mental
break.
fog. Yep.
Never
Good.
break. Well,
Is cooked
some
as done
nights,
for?
Cooked is just done, right?
Yep. I was cooked. What were the specific? I can't remember what the specific descriptions we had for those. were.
Doomed, embarrassed.
Doomed, embarrassed. Thank you.
Makes
Thank
sense.
you.
And whole Sigma was kind of like going all out, right? Like you're gonna.
Yep.
That
Yeah,
makes sense too.
Yeah, Sigma is a way that it's generally guys describe other guys as Sigmas, or alphas. Like an alpha male, they'll kind of call like be a Sigma would be another way to say that. And then Skibbity, it's just kind of that one doesn't necessarily make too much sense either. You could almost say that's like a adjective that can be used in a lot of different contexts, right?
Yeah.
What was your definition of skibbity again?
From before.
Yeah.
Yeah, absurd, bad,
Absurd,
or unhinged.
Okay.
Absurd, bad, or unhinged. But I think I looked it up, and it doesn't always mean that it's absurd or bad. It depends on the context. I think it said about 80% of the time it's referring to something that's bad, but 20% of the time it can be used as an adjective for something that's good. So it could go either way. But just another word that kids will throw around, right? Yeah, I think we covered all of them there.
So when you're around your high school kids teaching or coaching or whatever, do a lot of them use these words, or is it more,
The ones they use the most, Riz is definitely used. Cooked is definitely used. Mid is used. Aura is used. But the other ones, not so much. I'd say those are the big 4. 6, 7 will be brought up, like when it comes into anytime that you randomly hear that word, or somebody use that in a sentence, then they'll just kind of echo it to mention it. But I wouldn't say that they're screaming it in the hallways or anything like that. But yeah, I'm sure. It's like I said, on the internet, people are saying it when they're texting or commenting on things too. So you might see that in those contexts more.
And when they're rating something, I've noticed that they go, like kind of scale 1 to 10 and then go, oh, 6, maybe 7, 6, 7,
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So they'll take an opportunity to say it if they can. Okay. That's really all I had for today. Today's wasn't going to be too long of a presentation. I could have put a bunch more up there, but these are the ones that are probably the most popular and most widely used. And how much they're used, I'd be interested if you actually, now that you know what these are, if you hear them at Thanksgiving or not.
so I have a question, so that, like, my grandkids, they're always into bra. Okay, is that like, is it supposed to be disrespectful, respectful, or is it just a like brother, just hey brother, is it just a shortened form of that, or is
I
it?
think that's another one that kind of depends on the context.
Okay.
What is the word?
Bra, like BRO, but bra.
Oh, okay.
Like, as an example, say that you were supposed to, say my mom was supposed to bring me something today, whether maybe our winnings from the Packers, we had a Packer pool at the Brown Bottle on Monday or Sunday, and then we both won $60, and then you forgot to bring them, and then I would say, bro, Like you forgot to bring it. So it's nothing it's usually playful, I'd say. Like, oh, you forgot. But it doesn't have to be like that. But again, that's a context.
And bra is different than bro. Bro is.
It's kind of the same thing. BRUH, I guess it would be spelled. Bra is the same thing as bro. Yeah, those are kind of interchangeable. Okay, so going forward, right? Next month we will start our Tuesdays, our Thursday tech talks. So those will be from 3 to 5, in addition to our Tuesdays that are from 11:30 to 1:30. And we will not be having any group talk in December, partially because the holidays are just weird, where the last Tuesday lands on. And also I am expecting, or Joe and I are expecting a baby right around that time. So yeah, that will be an exciting end of December. So, but yeah, if you want to pop in these Tuesdays, we've had plenty of volunteer help. Sargento has had volunteers, and then the Thursdays, actually, there's some students that are going to come and help from Plymouth High School to get some volunteer hours. So we should have plenty of help if you have any questions in December about stuff.
The guys that helped me on Tuesday were really great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's nice to have two of them at the
Yes.
table that can help you,
Mhm.
right? And yeah, Sargento's going to continue to come with those.
Yes,
So.
I didn't get emails.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Short one today. If you have any other questions about stuff non-related to grandkid talk,